Hi, you are watching SightsIn and this is Romesh. Please to subscribe the channel for the HR news, for HR updates, and conversation with the top two CHROs, thought leaders, and business heads. Today we are going to discuss the impact of US tariff on India's companies, maybe for the goods only, but on India's companies. And recently, the US government has also announced the hike on the H-1B visas fee. That is $100,000. So these are the two very burning issues right now. If you look at the IT industry, so IT industry is already going through, I think, since last couple of years, with the challenges they are dealing with some macroeconomic uncertainty. This kind of the challenges might be the client preference. That's the challenge. GCC is also one of the challenge for the IT industry, and now these two boomers, I think, these are the very challenging time for the IT industry to discuss in detail how it is going to impact the IT industry in India, how it is going to impact the IT industry job market. Joining us, Mr. Milind Mutalik, his senior HR thought leader and former chief people officer at Accolite Digital. Milindji, welcome to Site Simples.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Romesh sir. And you picked up a topic which is there at the top of the mind of many of the folks. I'm sure this is a very interesting topic for the people to have some takeaways or our thoughts on it as to how do we look at it or whatever I have gathered, how probably people will able to decipher from that as what actions can be taken.
So there are two very important pointers of our discussion. If you see, what is the tariff? Uh, uh, Tariff that is for the goods, not for the services, but still, I think there would be some impact. So how do you see this hike in tariff? You can say the 50%. Then again, now on pharma, the 100% tariff that is imposed by the US government. So how do you see it is going to impact the IT industry in India?
See, one very important thing, we all know the tariff rates, August 27, 2025, the tariff rate of 50% has been levied onto majority of the industries, textile, gem jewelry, leather, rest of them, marine chemicals. At that point of a time, it was said that, okay, probably we'll look at energy, semiconductor, critical minerals, and pharma probably will be kept out of it. But the thought process has changed, and as you are rightly mentioning, there is even a kind of proposal to tax on that or would be done. Now, how does this impacts overall economy? First, how does it impacts India as a whole? A typical tariff cut will have impact, as some of the reports shows, on the GDP by 0.3 to 0.5%. Okay, because the thought process is if some of the exports will still continue wherever the buyers are ready to bear part of the tariff. Okay, so first let's talk from India point of view. About 4 to 4.5 to 5 billion you know USD or billion dollars exports may drop, and basically the industries which would be impacted majorly would be MSMEs, support industries which are there. Now, this is a direct impact onto the industry where we already started seeing the news and newspapers saying some of the industries out of UP and other areas which are supplying the leather goods to US have already started suffering. So perspective is how does this impact IT? It is going to have impact on all the services because the consumption would reduce of the services. Also, when wherever the US industries are accepting this tariff because of their probably the compulsions, then their discretionary spendings will reduce. The same goods which they were buying earlier at probably a 50% lesser price, if they're going to pay more price, then that money which they were spending for maybe a technology advancement, digitization, could be diverted into a core business or other something to do with their survival. So indirect impact on IT is this. Direct impact on India is reduction by 4 to 5 billion of US dollars of export, and the impact to the country on a GDP of zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.5. Now, while this is happening, okay, you would find that there is another kind of a uh, I would say, fear which is there with the IT companies saying that would the software exports be charged out of US? And they have been doing a lot of outsourcing to us. And you rightly pointed out initially, so tariff, does that have an impact on the IT companies? Yes, indirectly, currently, but not directly. However, if there is any changes which happen over the outsourcing which is happening out of US and any taxes on that, it would reduce the volume value both for us, and that would have an impact directly onto IT organization. So currently indirect impact, but there is a fear of a direct impact.
So absolutely, there would be indirect impact. I think very beautifully you have explained that because the earning of these manufacturing companies, the earning of these companies is going to come down. So that's why definitely they will think about to spend on these kind of the services, IT services. So definitely it will impact. Second, I think I was also listening somewhere that U.S. Finance Secretary is talking about that why not to include also the services for this tariff. So might be it is not till now. This is the services are not included. Maybe if these are also included, then we can see also the huge impact on IT industry.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Second, Milinji, we have seen also a very recent update that now the fee on H-1B visa that has been hiked to $100,000, and this is, I think, earlier it was around 2,000 or 5,000 USD, and now it is $100,000. So this is a big
Right,
amount, maybe like an annual salary of any senior position holding guy.
right,
So
right.
how do you see its impact with the IT industry?
See, there is definite impact, I would say. However, let me go into the details why of it. Why did this happen? And what's the thought process behind it from the side of US? So I was trying to look at the proclamation or the declaration which had been given by the government or the signed by president. The feeling is that H-1B program, where the high skilled workers have been brought in into US, there's a discrimination with the American workers. Okay, so they are being paid lower than the people who have been brought from there, especially the STEM graduates. Again, the numbers have been quoted in the declaration saying that the STEM workers in US more than double from 1.2 million in 2000 to 2.5 million, okay, by 2019. Then another overall employment only increased by 44.5% during the same period. So that means there is adversity in employment increase. Computer and math occupation, the share of foreign workers rose from 17.7% in 2000 to 26.1% in 2019. Okay. And typically the influx which happens according to them is more not based on the fairness. That's what the feeling which has been coming. H-1B program surged from 32% in 2003 to 65% in 5 fiscal years post that. And many largest employers, H-1B workers, are IT outsourcing company which allows employers to achieve substantial cost saving. So 36% lower salary is something which has been said that the workers are hired as compared to the American workers. Why I'm trying to understand the feeling. Also, what it has been said, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York computer science, computer engineering major face high unemployment rate of 6.1% to 7.5% respectively, and over twice the rates of graduates in biology and history. So they're comparing their own math and IT graduates versus the biological graduates. Okay, recent data, they say again 2019 to 2025 there's an impact of 3.02% from 1.98%. So some of such things and some of the examples were mentioned without naming the organizations, that they have got 5,000 H-1B workers come in and they got rid of 15,000 employees which were US employees. 1700 H-1Bs are being come in Oregon company, and 2,400 American workers were laid off. Now, these are some of the defenses which have been talked about why the fees have been increased. Now, going into details, is this fee increase is immediate impact? No, it does not have an immediate impact. It has an impact in the next cycle when you're going to file the H-1Bs. You'll be paying the fees of $100,000. So this is not impacting the workers or the H-1B holders who are already there prior to the date of 21st of September, and all those who are going to renew, who's already got the H-1B in the earlier time. So this is probably a new regime which would be starting with the next year of the applications of H-1B, which is going to impact the FY27. That's what majority of the clarifications which says about. Okay, so based on this, you still have sort of 1 year to strategize as to what you need to do and how do you reduce, because I'm sure majority of the organizations will have to find the way out, and what will be the way out is something which everyone would like to discuss, because if this law is not going to change and you need to pay for a entry of H1B somewhere in the range of $100,000, which is not today the average salary by many organizations. Okay, so that would be my take, saying that there are reasons why they have done it. And again, it's the way we had a knee jerk saying that everybody has to return back and all this stuff. That's not the case. It is more for the FY27 when you are going to go with the new applications of H1B, and that's where these fees will be applicable. So while you don't have to have a panic, you need to be having a concern over it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is for the new visas, and I think as per the clarification, this is only for the new visas. Already those holding the visas, even not on the renewal of that. So this is only for the new visas. This is the clarification. However, earlier it was also it was some kind of the misinformation that this is annual fee on the renewal of visa, but it has been clarified. After that, this is only on the new visas. Okay. Anyways, if you look at the companies, so I was going through some data which was published by the Mint, and if you look at the the dependency on the US, so there are a couple of companies like Buildasoft, like Emphasis, like Persistent, like LTI Mindtree. So their dependency is on US around 70 to 80% revenue. So this is a
Absolutely.
huge amount.
Absolutely.
Means if you don't get the project, you cannot make it, cannot convert into the revenue. So your overall market is dead. So how do you see
So,
the overall
yeah,
impact on the IT companies?
see, one very important thing we have been watching, even when we discuss about the analysis of top six IT companies in India, which includes typically LTI Mindtree. But if you look at TCS, Infosys, HCL, Wipro, LTI Mindtree, and Tech Mahindra, altogether, roughly about 60% of their business is coming out of US. And I'm sure they will have to make a strategy sitting with the client. One could be increase the local hiring. Now, one more data point which I was looking at is what kind of a laying off has happened since January in US. Okay, and when you lay off in US, and somebody who has got a H1B has 60 days to see to get the new employer. If they get in that, they can stay there, or they will have to be out of US. Now, within this period, more than 1,50,000, okay, July month itself, the and this is I think one of the newspapers in India has published it, that July itself there were about 46,000 plus layoff which has happened out of the US company. Okay, so if one strategy which will work is whoever is laid off from the big organizations could be hired by these people as a H1B is available with them. So local hiring at US would be one of the aspects. Number two, probably you'll be using L1 visas more than the H1s. Okay. So that would be, I'm sure even on L1 there would be a rejections, there would be a lot of other things which will happen. And third is nearshoring, which will be started, which you would start using, you know, uh, Latin America, you will start using Canada or some other nearby places where you are able to manage the timings and you are able to do the nearshoring. Fourth, finding the alternatives, okay, which could be different territories. Yesterday's newspaper talks about German ambassador saying that we invite the IT. folks, IT professionals into Germany. So we'll have to explore the new markets, which could be Japan, which could be Germany, which could be various other places which are there. Fourth one is cost escalations in the contract. Okay. So managing with the, typically a client wherever the crucial, critical things are, okay, and working on. However, if you look at last 2 or 3 years, IT companies are having the margins very less. In fact, the top line also is growing less than 5% for many of the organization as we are observing. They will have to work a strategy, and all the organizations, leave about Accentures of the world, rest of them are generally having a model of 70-30, 70% offshoring and 30% on site or at US or other locations. So now they'll have to work out a strategy for this 30%. How is this 30% would be managed by them? 30 is the highest level. A lot of companies would have 20, 25, depending on what kind of a, exposure they have out of US and what kind of a client needs are there, what stage the project is there. So typically, I'm saying offshore work shift would one more thing which will happen. So increase local hiring, utilizing L1 visas, limiting H-1B, cost escalations, finding new opportunities at different geographies, and maybe offshore work shift would be various other things which you'll look at. Because Australia, you talk about going there, West Asia, Japan, Nordic countries, Canada, all these things would be now explored by us, and probably we'll have to look at how we are able to get the business. Second, there's going to be advantage with this that a lot of American companies also will try and set up GCCs, or maybe they're whatever outsourcing out of India, because if they can't afford the so-called that much of a cost on the H1s, they will have to outsource the work more into India. So that could be a positive side of it, unless there's some taxes or other aspects being hitting that in a wrong way. Yeah. So that would be further aspects to that 100,000 and how the companies would look at it.
So I think as far as the visa is concerned, so that has been unhit, I think, from the first regime of Donald Trump. So the companies in India, these companies are trying to hire the local people, are nearshoring. These options, the companies are already, utilizing. So now, if you look at these challenges and how do you see 2 quarters, I think still we have for this financial 2026. How do you see the coming 2 quarters for the IT industry? How do you see the hiring pattern in IT industry? We have seen also some layoffs kind of TCS companies. The first time I think I'm listening the layoffs. This kind of other companies like Infosys, Wipro. How do you see the IT industry hiring pattern, salary hike? These are the things.
See, one very important thing is IT industry is going through so-called challenging times. You have AI coming in, you have AI impact coming in. Probably the big contracts are not moving so fast for majority of the organization. Discretionary spendings are not happening. So everything depends on how the customer interacts, because these are all service providers, and none of them are typically a product companies. Majority of them are a services companies. So based on the work which they are getting, they are going to have their hiring and firing strategy. Now, one very important thing which is TCS, the one who has announced about number of exits, whatever they are, maybe 12,000, 20,000, 30,000. People have different numbers to talk about, but the perspective is, because if TCS has done it for the first time, it's really not, they are not able to carry it through, and that's being the reason they have done it. I'm sure this next 2 quarters are going to be challenging quarters, or rather, I would say this financial year is going to be a challenging year. And unless and until we see outsourcing or GCC aspects, because see, as we have seen last time also, that GCCs are taking a ready-made talent out of the IT companies. And many GCCs today are coming here for a cost arbitrage and not for lots of innovation. Those who are coming for the first time obviously are coming here for a trial cost arbitrage. They're not coming, and that being a reason we also started classifying GCCs into smaller GCC versus the bigger GCCs, so much of a revenue and so much of a that. Okay, so perspective is IT services, pure play IT services companies are going to have a challenging time surely for next, till this financial year, unless there are drastic changes in terms of outsourcing, in terms of, you know, any new advantage which comes in. Because the things are, nobody is even projected this year to grow. We have seen last time, post the first quarter results, other than Infosys, nobody talked of even growth of 3%. Wipros and, I would say LTM entry, not LTM entry, the Tech Mahindra have not given prospective increase. So I think there are going to be challenges. It's going to be a stay put kind of a situation, not going to be a great hiring. However, it depends on the appetite of a company, how much they are able to afford. They're able to really keep the folks going, or they would come in definitely layoffs. But at the same time, I would say if the US companies are able to get so called bit of a discretionary spending, the scenario could change towards the last quarter. That's what my feeling is.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks the coming two quarters are challenging for the IT industry. And these IT industries are also investing heavily on GCCs now. So, for the employees' perspective, might be this is a relief for them. And as far as the salary hike and new employment, so these are going to be the challenging uh, within this period of time. Thank you so much, Milinji, for joining us and sharing your wonderful thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.